Test 1 2 1 2. All right, guys. I'm here in the studio. What's up, everybody in the internet world? We're doing a little test here to see. We're streaming to Facebook and to YouTube, and I just need to make sure. I'm gonna check on the YouTube. I know the YouTube stream is going, so give me a second. Whatever, come on. And this is going to that's right, I got it going to the wrong. Okay, there we go. Just a second. Let's see. It's supposed to be going to MediaTek Mentor and to YouTube. All right, so it's going there. Good deal. Wow, it's been up 7 minutes. So the deal is when you stream to Facebook, it's just mono. And when you go to YouTube, it's stereo. So I'm pushing out a stereo feed, but I want to compare the end result in both of the platforms, YouTube and Facebook, to see really what sounds better. Now, naturally, I think the stereo would sound better. And especially if we're doing some kind of tips and tricks, maybe tutorials that require a stereo effect that, let's just say a ping pong delay, where it's noticeable and the effect is very helpful to hear in stereo. It means something to the song. Then, or if I'm doing a tutorial on how to get certain things to happen in delay, to me that would be really important to hear in stereo. And you can't do that in Facebook because it's compressing it all down into a mono signal. So we're just going to check on some things. So also, I'm going to just go through, I've already set up a few things here. It's a live event that we recorded, video and audio. The audio capture live, it kind of sucked. And we did a multi-channel capture as well. So I bring that in, and you can see there on our, let's see, your lower right window, you see the track list there and the editor. I'll tell you what. Well, anyway, I'm gonna just play it. And you'll see a choppy video in the top right there. Obviously, I'm listening to this in stereo because I wanted to mix it for several different types of end product. One that goes on social media, one that just gets dumped to a file that anybody can grab and take with them, and then, one that we use to teach with, because we're here at a university and we teach our kids how to do this. So I'm going to just simulate maybe a slight tutorial and dive into some snares. And I really love working with snares, and I think it's the lifeblood of most songs. That snap really provides the energy to make a song move. So let's go in and let's solo this guy. So this is the live raw snare. I'm going to dive in fairly close. Get my mark there. All right, so I got just the snare in the reverb. I'll take the reverb off. I'm running a reverb in parallel. But now you hear it without the reverb, and it's just the live captured snare. So one of my tricks to fatten up the snare, and I like the overall capture of the snare, but when you're remixing for audio, especially to video, you want it to shine, you want it to feel a lot better. So one of the approaches I'll have is to copy, and you can see right here, if you look at my mouse, you see that I have 1, 2, 3, 4 different snares, or they're the same exact snare. It's just that I made clones of them, and now if I add them, they do get louder, but they also create a better sum. And I do have some things going on in these guys. Let me expand one of these out. So you see the snare too. I've got a Neve 33609 compressor. Let's break that guy out. And let's hear what he sounds like by himself. And there's no reverb on that. So let me get rid of the other. So you see, you can really hear how the compressor works there. And I could gain that up just a little bit. Recover some of my gain loss. It's 12. Let me let you hear that without the microphone on. So as you hear, it's really tight, and you don't hear a whole lot of the body. That takes away a lot of the body because we're here right at the front end of that attack, and it gets squished really fast. So, and it doesn't release throughout that, so it just stays nice and tight. I keep that in just to give it a little more effect. So if you hear, and we'll go back to, it wants to save real quick, but the approach is we're going to stack a lot of these snares on top of each other with a little different compression going on, and we're using compression to create a sound, not as much for the real reason compressors were invented, and that is to control volume. We're not that interested in controlling the volume. I can do that in post through automation, but now these different plugins that we have make it awesome to be able to explore and play around with and create different sounds. And I've got a lot going on, so it's taking a while for this guy to save up. But I'll play that as soon as it gets done saving. There we go. So this is the snare, just the 33609. And this is just a 57 on the snare, captured passing through a Digico preamp or an SD10 mixer, and it's flown back to our RME MADI capture point on another computer into the window, which is controlling it. Start it again. But I'll add the unaffected snare on top. Now you can kind of hear it, the big body there on top, but there's some interesting squishiness going on in the background. I'll cut that out. See how it doesn't expand out quite as much, even though we're using a compressor, where the squashed effect per se is creating this expansion in tonality. So turn it back on, and now it kind of jumps out and becomes alive. Although we kept the full body now, so that's the effect of keeping the real snare in unaffected, and then putting the 609 snare in there. So let's go to our third snare. And we have a LA3A plug-in on that guy. So I'll cut the other ones off and let you just hear the LA3A by itself. Let's back that up. And it just has a much different tonality to it. And the release is a lot quicker. And as you see, I haven't done anything to the EQ to these guys. The capture was really done well. And I like what I get. So I'm using these different tonalities of the plugins to create an EQ exchange. And they help really keep the body not too bright, but yet the EQ spectrum does change overall in the group. All right, so let me add that to the main snare that's not got any compression on it. Now you feel it jump out a little bit. And there's not quite as much expansion on the back end of the release. So let's add that 609 back in to get that. It'll be very subtle. And the volume boost is, everything's staying the same, but the volume boost there is just because we added a third wave file in there. It's another about 1.5 dB to 2 dB volume boost just because we added it. These guys are all relatively the same, so if I were to solo them the same across the board, they would all sound the same loudness. And I do that through my meters. All right, so we have these nice 3 snares, and I'm going to turn the reverb back on. And you really feel like you can hear the kick in there now when you're not supposed to, but this is just the snare mic. But because we really recovered a lot of gain, and what's happening in the compressors themselves is bringing out more of that noise floor that was really quiet in there, is bringing the noise floor up. So I'm gonna let you hear what these guys sound like without me talking and my mic muted. Okay, so you heard what was going on there with the mic muted. You should have been able to hear the snares really clean there. Now I'm gonna just slowly add in my kicks, so you can definitely tell that the kicks were not in there, although the noise floor of those snares, that SM57 was lifted just because we did so much work in compression and it brought it out, but definitely a different sound when we add in the kicks. Now I won't go through what we did to the kicks. I just kind of wanted, since I'm testing here, wanted to create some simulation of how we would treat a tutorial, and I'm bearing down on the snare at this point. And here come the kicks. All right, so you heard the snares kind of sitting in with the kicks. I always have my snares slightly louder just because I think it's very important to have that energy really going, and I generally have a good idea of what it's going to sound like at the end, at least in my mind. I already have a pre-assumed idea of, I know how I master that sum. So I know what it's going to do to make it all sit down together. So I mix that just a good bit louder. Now I'm going to show you the whole kit. Let's see if we can deactivate it all. And now activate our drums. And there's the whole kit. All right, the next instrument that would be crucial to this is, and remember, we took this off of a live recording. It wasn't super critical. It was from kind of a chapel service that they do 3 songs to lead in, and this is a university, so it's college-age kids leading it. Not the absolute best instrumentation and singing going on here, but we try to make it shine up a little bit. Let me compare it before I move on to the bass. You heard this. So I'm going to start it again, and I'm going to toggle through so you can hear what it actually sounded like live from the console mix. All right?
From at the
So you probably could hear that there wasn't a whole lot of drums sticking out there in the mix. And that was just coming off the console and really what they captured. We definitely want to retreat this, and that's why we go to this level of production is we bring it back in, and we want to retreat the audio before we release it to the public. And so I'll refer back to that reference so you can hear how it goes as it gets better. So let's listen to the bass. Married Up now. Wow, I just said a lot of things right there, and I realized I didn't have my my mic on. Sorry about that, guys. I'm sure that was awkward. Quick synopsis. I was talking about the bass and what I did to the bass. The EL7 Fatso on this bass really does an amazing job. I picked the Fat Tony preset, started there, and then tweaked it just a little bit per the bass, and I gave a 8 dB boost at 209 center, so in that 209 space with a moderately wide Q. I thought it sounded pretty decent considering what we had to work with the drums and the bass here. One of the things I really have to fight through in this type of remix is not not trying to reproduce the music. As you hear, there's a lot of timing issues going on, and drums and bass are not tight. Drums not terribly tight. Bass is on his. They're all playing to the same click track, and they're around it, so they're generally together, and you could get away in a live setting with that. But just so you know, it's driving me a little bit crazy to hear all the imperfections in timing. Nevertheless, we'll jump into. I'll add the guitars here. And I had said before, I didn't really treat the guitars too much. I just spread them out. There's two. There's E1 and E2. Acoustics not really doing anything here. And the spread gave me enough width where I was comfortable with their tone, and slightly tweaked their EQ, but really didn't add much of anything. This is something that we need to turn around in about an hour, so I couldn't just live like I normally do in a studio project. I work 3 days on a snare and a full day on guitars. So I really got to turn this around fast and get it to the video guys so they can marry it and get it uploaded. So this is techniques to get things done quickly, maybe a couple tricks just because we know what we're doing, and we use the same old bag of tricks here, not getting way out of our comfort zone. So now we got the music. One of the tricks nowadays in this style and type of music is that we have some backing tracks that are being triggered from a computer live. So they're playing with this live. It's not something that we added later, but it's just a mono track that fills in some space, a little extra guitar, a little pad or whatever. I'm gonna add that in right now. Some musical noise. A little extra keyboard. So you could hear how that really filled it out. There was a big synth sound going on in that backing track. A little bit of subtle, hard to perceive BGV-ish thing going on. And it just helps add a little bit of grout to this in the spaces. I am going to, at this point, just add in the keys. There were a stereo keypad and a stereo, just regular acoustic piano type trigger from, I think they were using Mainstage maybe. I didn't cut my mic off there, so it probably sounded lousy. I'll play it again. But this, it's got a lot of potential there if you get some of the timing issues worked out. It's a nice song. Sounds like it's fun to play. Got a good groove to it. All right, that was a little preview there before we add in vocals. I'll tack the lead vocal real quick, which is box 2. Again, didn't spend a whole lot of time. We just add a little auto-tune to kind of clean it up. Let's go back. Let's clear. I'll tell you what, we'll clear all the solos and then listen to the solo of the console mix.
I live my life to live it. I'm at the end of myself. I see the edge, but I know below me.
So as you could hear, it's definitely not perfect. That was the console mix. Well, it was the individual fly out mix with all the faders just pushed up. So that wasn't meant to be, that was just the capture mix. And it kind of indicative of what the, what we call the AES mix, flying from the digicode to the video stream. That's kind of how it sounded. Not great. There was a little bit of extra limiting going on to push those vocals down, but not here in this capture. So you can hear that. And obviously you heard me change over to what we just mixed, and in a short, less than an hour, we were able to put together, you know, a much bigger, fuller sound. So I'll A/B back and forth. I'll keep the vocals up at this point. But we did use auto-tune, and I did do some manual tuning on her vocal in some specific spots. So you'll hear it get heavier in a couple spots intentionally. But the BGVs were definitely auto-tuned. Obviously you can hear it. Now this is the console mix.
I wanna love you like you love me. I wanna love you like you love me. 1, 2, 3, 4.
This is why we do the remix here.
Gonna love me like you do, alright.
So I'm gonna hit back on these vocals because I wanted to do something in our test between platforms of YouTube and Facebook to see what the contrast is, because Facebook compresses down to a mono signal and we're in stereo, and YouTube should keep the integrity of this stereo. So I'm gonna do a couple things soloed with the vocal here.
I live my life to the limit. I'm at the end of myself. I see the edge, but I know below me your love is waiting to catch. I'm falling into you, 'cause no one's gonna love me like you do. Alright, oh, I've got nothing to lose. I can't stop, won't stop falling into you. Alright, the rush I felt in the free fall, as I lost control of my life. Jesus, I found that you've always had me. Your love is never in doubt. I wanna love you like you love me. I wanna love you like you love me. I'm falling into you, 'cause no one's gonna love me like you do. Alright, oh, I've got nothing to.
And as you can hear, I switched it from a stereo, even though the stereo delay was there. It was equally distributing the echoes, the feedback of each one of those delays equally through left and right. So it was a nice big wide delay. But now I switched it to a ping pong delay, which will even increase the spatial perception of it by delaying one speaker different than the other. So the left has maybe a shorter delay. We do it in sync though, but it is slightly delaying even more from the left to the right. So now you're getting this really, really wide effect. And I wanted to see, I bet this doesn't translate well in Facebook world, but probably does in the YouTube world. That'll be interesting to see. So can't wait to see the results. I'm gonna do it again.
I live my life to the limit. I'm at the end of myself.
Hold on, I'll try it again.
I live my life to the limit. I'm at the end of myself.
Yeah, that's a good test right there, because we can hear all the different things going on in each speaker. It's not just equally the same, but keeping it wide like a general stereo delay would do. This is ping ponging, so it's hitting one thing over here, one thing over here. Because that's a mono signal, it's equally hitting the preamp first, the head of the channel, equally, and then it distributes to the delay, and the output of the delay is setting different times for each side, just so that I wanted to reiterate that point. All right, that should give me a lot of information. I'll back this out one more time, play it through. I haven't played it through with the ping pong delay on her vocal. Well, it'll actually be on all the BGVs.